Okay, in this video we're just going to run through a simple wrap sling, because many of you have questions around slings and maybe what's the best one to get, etc. The one I usually recommend is one of the cheapest, and it's made primarily of bamboo, so that's quite an intelligent fabric, as many of you will know, and helping to keep baby warm when it's cool, but also cool when it's hot. A little like wool. I love another lovely fabric around babies. So the one I'm showing you here is a simple stretch wrap sling. So you can get wrap slings that are made from rigid material, but this does have an element of stretch in it. So it works really well for those of us who are new to using slings and carrying our babies. And why I think it's particularly good for that time is because you can wrap it all onto you first while baby's sleeping or somebody else is holding baby. You can get the sling on, all of that sorted out, and then you put baby in. So that's what I'm going to show you now, and try and keep that as simple as possible. So without further ado, let's move on. So I'm going to stand up now, and you can just observe me putting the sling on, and then I'll come and get baby. So I'll move further back so you can see me quite clearly. All of these slings, there's many out there on the market, will have a small tag or label that will show you where the center of the material is. So all I'm going to do is gather that fabric, and this is really quite sheer, nice light fabric, the 68% bamboo one I'm working with here. So it's quite nice and soft to work with. Gathered that up, so I've made a little band of material that I'm just going to wrap around the front of my rib cage, and then I'm going to step forward. And then all of this material, which is often what puts people off, is a little more under control. So I'm just gathering that through and bringing it up and over my shoulders. So if you look at the back, you'll see we've already got a cross here, across from the fabric. And then I'm going to take up those ends of the material, and we can drop that through. I think one of the important things at this point to mention is getting the tension right. We don't want it to be overly tight, because that'll be uncomfortable for everyone, but you have to watch out that you don't put it on too loosely. We've got to make sure once baby's in that they're high enough on your chest that you could kiss the top of their head. So we'll check for that when baby's in. So now my two long pieces of material are through this first band. Now I'm going to cross these over as well. So you can think across at the back, across at the front, and then wrap it around the waistline. And again, I just keep checking in with the tension that it hasn't got overly loose and baggy. So you just keep giving a little bounce into that tension. Wrap it around the waist. And yes, you could just bring it back around that area, but we could be missing a beat there, because many of you may feel quite unstable in the pelvic area. And so you can wrap the material around the hips as well. And yes, you can have this all with the material very flat and banded, but you need to be very confident and maybe a bit more of an expert so you can do that comfortably. So I like the runched tying initially, and then you can fan the material out. So you can see I'm just putting that quite firmly, and then make another knot. So if you wish, you could then fan this material out a little bit more over the hip area, if that felt more supportive or comfortable. Again, as I was mentioning, the fabric is so nice and sheer, it works. It's really nice to work with. Most importantly now is just looking at this area where baby is going to be nestled shortly. And I just want to fan that fabric over one shoulder, and the same thing here. So we've got no lumps or bumps, and it begins to look a bit more pashmina-like. So there we are, already there to receive baby. So now I go and pick baby up, and baby's down here. So I'm just going to roll baby's chest onto my forearm. And those of you that come to class will know about how we can pick baby up from a simple rolling up from being on their back, and also this simple safety hold. Baby's back to my front, right? But I'm going to turn baby to face me now, yeah, more heart to heart. And I'm bringing baby up onto my right shoulder because the piece of fabric closest to my body is over the left shoulder. And this is where I'm going to bring baby's leg through first of all. Right? So I get that band of material, and you can see I'm just placing baby's leg through there, and just bringing that across a little, because I just want to get baby a little bit more placed onto the front of my chest. And then I'll do the same thing here, just bring that leg through. So I've got baby at the center, and now I come back to that first one and just fan that all the way, from one knee to the other. Right? From that shoulder across to that hip. Right? And then the same thing on this side. There we go, all the way across. Lovely. And you know, at this point, not to be too still. So we can be rocking and simply moving when baby's initially going into the sling. Now what will happen at this point is baby's often having a little snuffle around on your chest. And many of our younger babies will often favor one side at this point. So my baby is just going to turn to my left. And obviously the issue here is fabric covering the face. So you know, you can simply just fold the material back. Right? Okay, so that's lovely. And then I'm going to use the third and final band of material and taking their little feet through. And then let's begin to gather this up, right? Which is really nice because that fans out the material around the rib cage. So the weight distribution now is pretty wonderful, yeah? Through the shoulders, the upper arms, the rib cage, the hips. And you can see my baby's well placed for a little kiss on the top of the head. If you're worried that your baby feels a little misaligned, you can see I'm just slipping my hands inside the fabric to support the sacral area and the back of baby's head. And then I would just lean forward a little and a little jiggle around within that hammock of fabric till I feel baby is better placed. Okay, now what often worries people here is baby's head and how secure that is. Right? You've got to remember baby's in a lovely little C-curve position here, tail tucked under, chin dropping. There is no lumbar cervical curvature. So because they're in that little C-curve, the head is in this position and quite happy there. But there is something simple we can do to make a little bolster here for the back of the neck if you need a little more reassurance to feel happy to not always have a hand here. That's supporting the head. And usually I would use a muslin square, but I'm going to use a little scarf I've got here. And so I'm just going to make a very simple little roll, like what you do with a small muslin square. And then you just tuck that under and make a little roll. Right? So that sits really nicely around the back of baby's neck area here. Yeah? And you've got a little muslin square then tucked away for later. So it should feel right. You know, here it just, there's a sense that baby is just at the right height, close enough to kiss. Lovely place to feel that I'm still in contact. I can use my touch, but I'm not having to take that weight into my arms. I can actually let the arms be free. So we can absolutely wear our babies as well when we want to have a simple stretch, which is wonderful, or a bit of a boogie or whatever it is you like to do. Get out for that walk. And here you are weight bearing. So this is so good for our well-being as women. When we carry our babies, we build up strength and density in the bones. Okay, so I think I'll leave it there for today. And if you have any questions, please do message me. Thank you.